You are the magnet. Well, hello, everyone. How are you doing? Good to see ya. Happy Monday here in the U.S. I think it's everywhere else. Although I believe in Australia, I saw someone write it's like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's Tuesday there. So hello, how are you doing? Hey, Franny, how you doing? Brad, hello. David, I love tacos. Love it, love it, love it. Brandon, hey, I got your email. We'll be getting to it. Hello, Haley, how are you doing? So Charlotte just saying, looking at everything fine looking people there. So how was your weekend? Mine was pretty cool. Got away, did a lot of writing, a lot of reading. Not writing was part of it, but more reading than anything else. So, wow. So I'm going to kind of get right to the subject today. And first of all, let me just invoke favor on everyone listening. I invoke favor in full restoration, specifically your memories, but restoration in all areas of your life. You know, nothing missing, nothing broken. Yep, that which has been taken, man, the thief has to pay back, and we say sevenfold. So there we go. Um, so I've the thing about a channel like this one, you can actually see a trail. You can actually see, evidence. You can have something that you can go back on. And for the last 5 years, specifically, I have known intuitively inside that, how do I put it? I was making the tea and someone wrote me and said, thanks for, now I really love this stuff. And now it's hard to find in the grocery store. Looks like we're having an impact on their product. If they only knew, huh? So good afternoon, Kenneth. Good to see you. Sydney, hello. Steve, hello. Scott, good to see you, my friend. And Terry, Fernando, good to see you as well. Karen, Tina, how you doing? Cheryl, Michelle, Michael. And so I have been searching diligently for something that was just on the edge of my consciousness. I knew it was there. Just that was about it. Couldn't tell you what it was, couldn't tell you any more than that. And this was what happened 5 years prior to this. And so for my journey has been going on for a while now. And it's gotten really intensified in the last 5 years. And when I say intensified, knowledge coming to you. For my case, I didn't know where it was coming from. It was there. And I felt compelled to start doing this video series called the Bloodline Invader series. And I knew then, and I look back on it and I marvel. There are guides, my friend. There are guides. I think the more that you accept that, the more you'll see how much those guides have been there and doing exactly what they are said to do. Who knows? Maybe many of us who are listening, we will become guides for others. We may not take physical form, but I do believe that we will take the ethereal form. the spirit. So anyway, I can remember when I lived in Austin, Texas, and I lived right off Mopac. And if any of you know where Austin is, then you know where Mopac is. And lived off Mopac in 222. And I can still remember this epiphany. At that time, yeah, it was pretty cool. I remember that. I had a Porsche back then. And anyway, um, so I can remember when it began. It started hitting me. I was a CEO of a company, and of all times, these thoughts were coming. Thoughts that I didn't know where they were coming from, really. I would meditate on them, ponder them, you know what I'm saying? But I had so much other things to do that I just kind of filed it away. And because I was back on a DOS system back then. I was looking for a Unix server. But anyway, through the years, and now as I look back, decades, I find out that the voices were always speaking. I think they speak to all of us. We've been trained very well. You could say it's mind control, but we've been trained to ignore it and to actually fear it. And good reason why we've been taught to fear it. And not for the things that you would think that one should be fearful of. So getting back to this series I did, Bloodline Invader series, I knew something wasn't right. And when the epiphany hit me, we can now document the homogeneous of our species. And we're adding to it. We're finding more and more what we would call subset of our genus, our species. And last year, the hobbits of Indonesia were discovered, added to the tree. And then that got me to thinking. I remember when it hit me again, I was sitting at my desk, and it was like someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Which man sinned?" I went, okay. And from there, it began the journey. So I knew something wasn't right. How many of you read Graham Hancock's books? His book was one of the ones that was with me this weekend. I refer to it often. Devoured this. My wife said, "What the hell are you reading?" Literally, I think this was a record. I think I read this literally within 4 hours. One of the things about Graham Hancock's book, particularly The Magicians of the Gods, is a problem for all thesis, theology, religion, philosophy, science. Tracking our history is something we're discovering all the time. We're getting better at it. With the technology, we're now able to see deep into the ground, where before we would just basically have to throw a dart and dig, and if you found something, well, then you hit the jackpot. So Gulfi Tepe is a problem. And it's a problem because It means all the dating that, the show that I did on Friday on the calendar was for nothing. They got caught. Hard to say that the world was created 6,000 years when you had evidence that there was something here a lot longer before then. And this began a problem. And so allow me to pull up a presentation that I had put together, and we'll just use this as our discussion board. So the brotherhood of the serpent, the snake, the dragon. Today, it's in different organizations. They are real. I've been searching for them for a long time, folks. And I can tell you, you'll search in vain. I've been fortunate because I was fed a couple of breadcrumbs, as others have as well. I mean, it's known that some of the best researchers, I just mentioned Graham Hancock. The list is long, that have discovered the same thing you'll discover, same thing I've come to discover. I didn't sleep at all last night. It was just one of those nights where sleep was elusive. It evaded me because my spirit was talking. And let's continue here. Here's a question for you. Did God just create the sapiens? Let's get real specific here. Did God, the God of the Bible, the God of the Quran, the God of the Hindus, whatever the God is, did it only create sapiens? Because we've got to get real serious here and stop playing house, stop playing church, stop playing pretend. Let me get so deep into my theology, my philosophy, my Zen. No, we got to begin to ask some of these real questions. Is your God the one? Now, if you're a Christian, whatever, I was one at once. You got to ask these questions. Did this God, did only create sapiens? Because we have a problem here. This is just a redacted, let me just say, easier, condensed version of the homogeneous bloodline. You can't any longer say that these people did not exist. I think we were wrong. We're having to completely redefine and recategorize Homo neanderthalis. Turns out the Neanderthals were exceptionally brilliant people. They were not these knuckle-dragging, hairy, supposed sub-sapiens. No. They had agriculture. They had architecture. They had not only, the fact that, yes, they were hunter-gatherers, but so are we. And it's always interesting how the Neanderthals were in the Bronze Age when the Sapiens went into the Iron Age, when iron is easier to process than bronze. In fact, it takes much more intelligence to refine bronze than it did iron. How did that happen? Is that a regression of the sapiens? So which one of these cats sinned to let's just go with it, that I was a former Christian. I read the book of Genesis. People still read the thing. Never was written by a Hebrew, but anyway. So which one of these cats ate the apple? That's the one I want to know. Which one ate the forbidden fruit? Come on. Which one? I just want to know. Was it the sapiens? Because that becomes a problem. Who created the rest of these genuses of our species? Be curious to see what the comments are. I can't see them in the chat room, but here we go. It blows the whole purpose of all religions. You can't simply become so biased in your thinking that you're the superior species and none of these other species count. I mean, that's the arrogance of stupidity of man. That's our problem. We have digressed. We haven't, actually, it's regression. All things shows that we're regressing at an incredible rate. We're becoming stupid, dumb, no memories, can't remember. We can get into this another time, but here's the point. So here's the whole thing to this. Everything, the Bible, every book out there, I'm just going to say it, the Vedic, the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, all of them. This is who wrote it. By all the evidence, this is who created us. You, me. I know it's repulsive, isn't it? You've been taught that way. I was too. You've been taught that this is evil. They have personified it in the image of many different archons, demiurges, demigods, Satan, Lucifer, the evil one. But the evidence is overwhelming. This is probably who created us. The sapiens. And I'll show you why. Because once again, we go back to the magicians of the gods. The Digs in Turkey, in Göbekli Tepe. They know. Those people were intelligent. They knew that this comet was coming. They knew they had to bury there where they could leave evidence, because they knew if anything was left on the ground, above the ground, it would be wiped away. Sapiens are who came back and reseeded. That's the question. The Brotherhood of the Serpent. These guys are it's kind of hard to say who's the good guy, who's the bad guy in this, but they've been opposed to the Vatican. The Vatican has been opposed to them. And when you begin to understand where Christianity arrived from, how it came, in fact, all of the religions, it all goes back to the serpent, all of it. Every road leads to this. And here's the thing. It's been right there in front of us the whole time. Even in your Bible, when the serpents, and then by the way, that's all allegory, metaphorical. But why was it that Moses, the serpent worshiper, held up the snake to get everyone healed? And it wasn't a man that was crucified on the cross. It was a serpent that was crucified on the cross. No Jesus, no man, but a serpent a reptilian. It was crucified. The true story. Yeah. Doubt me? Write me. I'll give you all the material that you want to go down the rabbit hole and come out the other end. This is the big deception, folks. Right there. Right there. Take a look at it. You see, this is what the Gnostics knew. The pagans. The ones that paid with their lives. It's amazing how much the opposition has killed us to keep the truth known. Throughout our history, they can't hide it. They can't destroy it fast enough. No matter what they have done in burning the books, genocide, mass murder, hiding the knowledge, the truth, it still comes up. Because it's who they worship. They can't let that be known. The stories, the fables paint a serene story of a new creation, of a new species, never addressing the past, inventing a present. But again, we have entered in the beginning of the change. We've been in the dark age. And now our enemy has sent its agents of discourse, division, disinformation. And even in the time of the Great Repression that lasted nearly 1,200 years, where the current church did its best to eliminate this knowledge, this Gnosticism, they could not. They cannot defeat this enemy that they have made of an enemy. No matter where we go, no matter how far back, no matter what land, no matter what continent, no matter what time, no matter what race, what culture, always the serpent, always associated with health and wisdom, healing and wisdom, health and wisdom, healing and wisdom. Even in the Bible. And man is not the only bipedal. There was a time that you and I purposely were never taught about. There was a time, in the very recent time, of a different story, a different reality, a different history. Reptiles and sapiens. What's the connection? Why is there seeming to be an adoration of both species that have been regressed, hidden, purposely slanted? The Gnostics knew. There was never a man on that cross. You have to understand the event never happened. It was a metaphor of the love of the Creator for its children, us. Us. I know that sounds weird, doesn't it? But the problem is, it's embedded everywhere. It's so embedded in our collective psyche. The stories morphed into so many different pictures, but all still originating with the same one. Woman being impregnated by the reptile, the reptilian. A whole species. They left us the evidence. For all intents and purposes, this is Mother Goddess. This is Mother God. Oh, we don't want to think about it. We want to see it as a sapien, a bipedal. No. And no matter where you go, Brian and I did a show on him over his channel, Milky Way Weekly. And go back and look in my archives. Everywhere. If the story had been tilted about 2,000, 3,000 miles further east, this would be your Yahweh. This would be your God. This would be the equivalent of the ancient Hebrews. All the way back to Samaria. Serpent, fertility, health, wisdom, knowledge. The brotherhood started most likely before sapiens ever came onto the scene. We know our creators are everywhere. They exist in every culture. No matter how far you want to go back, I will be doing a chronology going back 10,000 years and showing you how in every religion, every culture, this is what we find. The serpent, the snake. Everywhere. No matter what your time, no matter what your history, no matter what empire, always. Yeah. You know, when the person carved this, the reason why it's lasted nearly 8,000 years, it was meant to. Yeah. We think we have always been here because we have been told and taught a lie that cannot be substantiated. And when the evidence is brought forth, certain powers will kill, murder, malign, destroy anyone who gets in their way of exposing the truth. The Minoans knew. They certainly had, where was the Hebrew God? Where was the Savior? Something much older than that God. Wherever we go, even in modern times, we will find these adorning our places of law, places of civil meetings. Yeah. Again, the dawn of time. It was the serpent who created us. No God in a spaceship. You see, if it wasn't for the fact that it's everywhere, you can't hide it anymore. You could say that there was only myth, folklore, etc. Well, that's what you could say about any holy book. I'm just showing you the evidence throughout the ages, throughout the cultures, throughout the continents. These people couldn't talk to each other. They couldn't send a message in the bottle, so to speak, to a culture 1,000 years down the road. But yet that culture 1,000 years down the road is still worshiping, adoring the same serpent. Reptilians? Let me tell you what I had hit me Saturday night, about 1:40 in the morning. Folks, Homo was not here originally. Our distant ancestors and our DNA were here, but we were not. This planet was inhabited, ruled with a culture of civilization that were not sapiens, were not homos. They were not man. They were reptilian. Advanced culture. And we see it no matter what part of the globe, north, south, east, or west. The serpent. Wisdom. Healing. The serpent. Everywhere. The serpent. The serpent. These are hybrids. The serpent. Distant cultures, different lands, different religions, different beliefs, but all on the serpent. You can ignore it. That's fine. I did. I was taught that this was nothing more than imagery. Well, if it's imagery for this religion, well, so it is with the Christianity, your Bible. All the supposed in every religion that all these wondrous works of these gods are all made up by these cats. They're everywhere. You just cannot ignore this. We're going to get another programs because as we begin to peel back all of the evidence, you begin to see how they have failed miserably. This is why their whole construct is crumbling. They can't fight it anymore. And they're preparing for battle. And unfortunately, you and I may be in the middle of it. I'll guarantee you we will be. But folks, at some point in time, you have to begin to understand even the very foundation of a religion is predicated on a serpent. Look at this, folks. This is an actual coin. You want to know when the coin was? 2nd century. A man being crucified on the back, and on the front is the serpent being crucified. Which story? Who's saving whom? The serpents, bringers of knowledge, wisdom. Our ancestors worshiped them, adored themselves with them. And woe unto the ones that tried to initially deceive these species. That's all you can call them, is a species. More advanced than we are. Most likely also more advanced spiritually than we are. Now that seems hard to handle, doesn't it? But our Sumerian friends that everyone is so fixated on these days, again, it's a deception. Enki, Enyo were serpents, the reptilians. Yeah. Here's the story. Enlil tethered imprisoned Enki in an energy field because he gave Tiamat, the first Eve, and the Adamu self-awareness and reproduction. Eve, conscious before Adam, is and has adorned her belly and genitals, proud of her source of pleasure. She stares at her Enki, her dad, in tethers. You have to understand the gods, well, they would age restrict it if I said what really took place. But again, here we go. Which one do you want to go with? Enki, Thoth, the medical, the DNA? Coincidence? Really? We've had a controlling power over us for the last, well, the Vatican, they just picked up the mantle. This deception started way before then, but the cult of Bacchus brought it into the heart of the Vatican. John Lash, Jehovah is the Lord Archon, a reptilian type of alien predator. An extraterrestrial being whose realm is the planetary system independent of the Earth, Sun, and Moon. He is not an advanced being, more evolved than humans. Well, there you go. But a demented alien with certain superhuman or what they would call diethetic powers. Gnostics taught that Jehovah infects humanity with the belief that he is their creator God, but in fact, he cannot create anything. Again, are you seeing what's happening here? There's a division within the creators. They can't hide it. They won't hide it. Never have hid it. It's the others that today that holds rule over almost 2 billion people. And you add the other religions in there, you got the enslavement of humanity locked up. You have to have a religion. What? You don't believe in a God? Well, you can't be spiritual. Do reptilians give us spirits? Is that what our spirit is made of? Is that what it's created in the image of? Is that why we feed upon our own kind? It's why some of us are so cold-blooded that we can lie to the very person who loves us and not think anything of it. I've told you and told you and told you. I didn't write these words. So it really comes down, light bearer, dragon, bad guy. Which one is it? Blazing River, you said you don't see the serpent or things. You want me to show you that again? Would you like me to show you that picture again? It was designed so you could see the serpent eyes and the fangs. No, I don't like this any more than I think anyone else does. But as you begin to think about it, I mean, when we start looking, for instance, in the characters, even in most of the Bibles that you read, the stories, the Torah, all of this is based on the serpent. Christianity is based on serpent worship. The Torah is based on serpent worship. All of them are. Oh, I see it. Thanks. He was kidding. I don't know. I stepped into the middle of the conversation. What do I know? The thing about it is, this brotherhood, you see, at first I thought, well, here is at least affirmation of their existence. Well, the book that I just read was actually based on a fiction. A professor had to write a fiction story because, as he said, you risk a lot when you start talking about this. The brotherhood of the snake, the brotherhood of the serpent, the brotherhood of the red crown, the brotherhood of the yellow crown, the brotherhood of the order, the brotherhood of the order of the snake, the brotherhood of the order of the oath. I better shut up before I start naming some really ones that shouldn't be named. They're here. They're in our government. Every government has them in there. Woe unto the one who betrays the order. Folks, it's time we start getting our proverbial shit together. I didn't make this up. I mean, if I did, I'm sure that the powers to be would laughing their ass off. Something's up. There is a war that has gotten a lot more intense. And we're going to go back and we're going to start looking at some things because the evidence is all around us. Our sapiens appeared on the scene. I mean, not sure where they came from. Kind of like the Sumerians. The Sumerians just I mean, as I call them, they're the plug and play culture. They came out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And what did they happen to be worshiping? The snake, the reptilians. They're here. Now, I don't know why they've enslaved us. I really don't. I think that's my next pursuit. I know who you are. Many more of us are going to know who you are. But now the question really does, we have to now push aside all this religion, as I tell people, you need to detox yourself from these. If you're reading your Bible, the question is why? It's at some point you've got to detox your mind, your spirit. I don't know if they give us a soul or not. But the evidence would suggest they did, in fact, probably had something to do in the creating of us. Maybe that's part of the genetic process, that we are created with amnesia, the inability to remember that far back. But I happen to think that they have some inside trouble, meaning I think there is a rebellion taking place. I think they have had about enough of it as we have. I mean, the one thing I can say that I meet more and more people, they have just had enough. They've had enough of the insanity because it's not getting any saner. And you have to admit, everywhere from the media to politics to corporate ideology, I could just go all down the line, are all predicated on a reptilian type system. But we've been taught to, again, fear, ignore, shun, run away from anything that would suggest that man was created by a reptilian. The church can't handle the fact that Eve was impregnated by a reptilian before Adam ever learned what his Peter was. And that's why you got such the confusion. Well, when Cain was kicked out, well, where did those people of the plains come from? Well, why did they mark his head? Mark his head. They put a mark on him. I had one person write me. I was reading this morning. I got a lot of emails to get back to, but this one just tickled me. Apparently, her and her husband used the daily shows to challenge their pastor. And funny email was that she said that he's finally said, quit asking him questions. Well, there you go. I can't answer them, but don't ask me them either, So I don't know. It's confusing. I'll tell you. I literally have on my desk right over here, I've got two piles of books that are approximately 3 feet tall each in my research that I've been doing. Over on the other side of my desk over here, I have another pile of books about 2.5 feet. And on the floor, it's everywhere. My wife said, what are you doing? Building, like termite mounds? But no matter what book I use, you start looking in here, it's everywhere. And again, I did the Bloodline Invader series nearly 3 years ago. And everything about that whole series that I did, I didn't even know what road I was going down. But I was being led, fed information. I was just open enough to I'd had the skills that I could put it in a presentation form. But when you start putting it in a storyboard form, and you step back, that's where I learned back in my days in post-production. When you're in an edit suite, before you go into online, you go on offline and you get all your elements put together and you put them into a montage, and then you start looking at your shot log, etc. And so when you start doing it on a storyboard, you step back and you go, wait a minute. How can that, which is over 4,000 years different than that, but whoa, wait a minute. Why are they focusing on the same thing? And then as you start compiling in between, no matter what continent, no matter what culture, no matter what time, always the serpent, always associated with healing, wisdom, knowledge, the light bearer. How can you have something that be a light bearer with knowledge be evil? That doesn't make any sense. That's insane. But that's what we've been taught. And then when you begin to see organizations, and by the way, I have in another book, it's a very small little book, by the way, as they recant in here, because some of these societies, if they're being written about, they're not too secret. Now, there are some that they just don't give a crap, whether you know about them or not. But there are those that dare say you will lose your life, dare I say your spirit. These are some powerful, powerful beings. And I don't know if I've stepped on any toes. I guess we'll figure it out. Someone wrote me and said, well, you're being watched. And I said, well, good. Maybe they'll learn something. But, we got to figure this thing out, because, folks, we're tearing ourselves apart. Our species, the races, we should be marveling at our diversity. But something's wrong. Our leaders, we don't have leaders anymore. We have children. We have petulant children acting as adults. Either they've gone senile or, unfortunately, dementia has set in. But then you look around, even with the younger leaders of the world, they act in confusion. They act as though that they can't even come up with a single idea. And it seems like there is more turmoil. It seems like everything that we're doing, there's a counterforce working against us. I often wonder, could it be our own knowledge that's working against us? I contend to you, folks, this internet, I know that this being, it is not a being. They're a race. There are many of them. They're a species. But they are the ones that are feeding off the internet. Look up the word. Well, I did a whole program. Look at the word worship, devotion, adoration. It's what you focus in on with adoration. You take away a 14, 13-year-old cell phone today, you're liable to become back dead. It will absolutely throw them in rages of fits, anger, uncontrollable. You take their electronic device away. It sounds to me like that's worship, brainwashing. And then that could just be crazy as all get out. We're going to continue to do this. Everything that we're in, the Course in Miracles, we're going to continue to do this. We got the ability, folks. I said to this, and it got a reaction out of a group. I said, the thing that most people of the world, the religious people of the world, and, we love them all. But the thing about it is, they will bustle up, when you start talking about psychic phenomenon, ESP. Oh, it's the devil. That's the devil. They ain't going to talk. They ain't going to get around that. Well, but wait a minute. Do you pray? I pray all the time. Okay. Then you're telepathic. I'm no such thing. I'm praying to God. Well, I know that you're telepathic and he's telepathic. And the thing about it is, I always ask, has God ever talked to you? Well, of course, God talks to me. Well, then that means you're telepathic both ways. You can send and receive. Welcome to the club, brother. Now, they don't dig it when it comes like that, but that's true. Maybe that's what they're afraid of. Maybe they're afraid that these kids might just really get their act together and go, holy crap, we're like these really powerful creatures. Well, hug your snake, metaphorically. Folks, thank you so much. This has been fun. We're going to continue to hit this because there's something here. I mean, I sense it. So many of you have the same, I could really use a descriptive word here, but I do have command of the English language. There is this, it's like a drawing, a pulling. We know it exists. We just can't quite nail it. And we've been distracted. There's so many freaking distractions out there. I have a lot of people write to me about the flat earth, and I said, fine, I don't care. Round earth, flat earth, I don't know. When I walk, it's all straight, or actually I live in the next to the mountains, but does it really matter? There's something more important here than to be dealing with this. We have answers that I sense that they're running scared. So we'll continue to figure out. All right, folks, tonight I got Miss Claudia, Dr. Albers, and she has sent me a bunch of papers I haven't had a chance to read, but we'll be on. And tomorrow we're going to pick this up. Patrick, hello, Suji, how are you doing? Patrick wrote me over the weekend. He apparently he's not having to go in the hospital, but whatever this, and it's not a virus. So anyway, it's kicking his proverbial butt, and he's probably going to be taking a break from talking with the planets. But anyway, that's the update I have on him. And okay. Hope it's been fun. Folks, I appreciate it. I'll tell you what, I'm telling you, it's close. I sense it. And let me just tell you, as I close, I don't want to keep you any longer. This book, again, it's a fiction story based on lots and lots of research this professor did. In fact, he's got pages and pages and pages of research, footnotes. They're real. The brotherhood exists. The order exists. And I'm telling you, I believe whether there are our creators or our imprisoners, they exist. They do. And that's the weirdest thing to actually have to say. Are you saying that there are reptilians walking around? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. And by the way, cowboy, them reptilians, they be your God as well. No hate mail. All right. All right, folks. Love you greatly. Take care of yourselves. Be good, and favor upon you. And I'll see you later tonight and tomorrow for sure. Thank you, folks. Be good. Bye-bye.